Welcome again, wanderers of fate. The war has devoured creation, and the brightest among the rulers has begun to doubt the light he serves. This is the story of Ashborn's fall, and the birth of Shadow. The heavens were silent. The war of eternity had ended, but the scars it left behind glowed faintly across the fabric of existence. Stars flickered like dying embers, and realms once filled with divine radiance lay quiet, swallowed by the long twilight that followed the fall of gods. The absolute being was gone. The monarchs were vanquished. The rulers had faded into myth. Yet the universe did not end. From the ashes of divine ruin, something fragile yet profound began to stir. Life, small and unknowing, reaching toward the faint warmth left behind. Humanity. They were not born of divine essence, nor forged from celestial flame. They were imperfect, fleeting, and bound by time. Yet within them burned a spark neither light nor dark could extinguish, will. In the deep silence of the realm of shadows, Ashborn watched them. He sat upon his throne of twilight, one hand resting against the hilt of his silent sword. Around him drifted shades of fallen monarchs and rulers alike, echoes of a war that had long ceased. The realm pulsed faintly, alive with the rhythm of creation's aftermath. Ashborn's eyes were weary but soft. So fragile, and yet, they endure. A voice rose beside him, the shade of radier, faint and luminous. They are free from the Absolute's law. From ours. That is why they are strong. Ashborn said quietly, freedom is a cruel blessing. They will fight, they will suffer, they will destroy each other, as we did. Perhaps, Radier murmured, but they will also love. Something even the gods never understood. Ashborn looked down at the mortal realm, a small, trembling world bathed in the pale glow of dawn. He saw them struggling, building, weeping, laughing. Within their short lives, he saw something that neither ruler nor monarch had ever possessed, the power to find meaning in imperfection. He whispered, then perhaps, they are what we were meant to be. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell, and humanity's flame grew brighter. They built cities, crafted songs, waged wars, and in their myths, fragments of truth began to return. Stories of winged beings who once guarded the heavens. Tales of shadows that protected kings from unseen death. Legends of a god who walked between light and dark. They called him by many names, the King of Death, the Twilight Guardian, the Eternal Watcher. But in the oldest tongues, the name that lingered longest was Ashborn. Though his realm lay silent, his essence stirred whenever mankind teetered on the edge of despair. When tyrants rose, his shadow whispered courage into the hearts of rebels. When the innocent cried out, unseen blades struck down those who hunted them. And when darkness spread across the world, not from gods or monsters, but from human greed, his power awoke once more. There came a time when the boundaries between worlds weakened. The power once sealed by divine law began to leak into the mortal plane, fragments of both light and darkness. They fell like meteors, like tears of the heavens, embedding themselves into chosen souls. The rulers, remnants became radiant blessings, powers of protection, justice, and purity. The monarchs, remnants became curses, power without mercy, hunger without end. And in the space between them, where light and dark intertwined, Ashborn's will lingered, the unseen balance. Those who inherited his essence did not know his name. They only felt it, a shadow behind their heartbeat, a calm voice whispering when death drew near. It was through them that the legacy of Ashborn began. On a night when the moon bled silver and the stars dimmed to ash, a young warrior knelt amidst a ruined battlefield. His armor was broken, his sword shattered, and his comrades lay fallen around him. He whispered through trembling lips, please, not yet, let me stand once more. And the shadows answered. They rose around him, silent and cold, yet not cruel. They wrapped around his body like a cloak, and in his ears echoed a voice ancient as eternity. Do you wish to rise? The warrior gasped, his vision fading. Who speaks? The voice replied softly, one who once fell, and learned to stand again. He felt warmth and cold intertwining within his chest. Power surged through his veins, both divine and forbidden. His shattered sword reformed in his grasp, now black as night and edged with pale light. When he rose, the world trembled. Then rise, the voice said, and fight for balance. The warrior, the first shadow sovereign of men, screamed into the storm, his eyes glowing like twin eclipses. From that moment onward, humanity no longer stood powerless before the unknown. Ashborn watched from afar, a faint smile touching his lips. So, it begins. Radier's shade, glowing faintly beside him, spoke. You have given them what even we could not bear, the weight of choice. Ashborn replied, then let them bear it, and perhaps surpass us. He rose from his throne, gazing upon the mortal realm, upon every spark of life, every fleeting soul that carried the legacy of gods without even knowing it. The rulers guided the light. The monarchs ruled the dark. But humanity, he paused, his voice fading into reverence. Humanity will decide what it means to exist. He extended his hand, and the realm of shadows began to dissolve, its boundaries thinning like mist under morning light. Let them inherit both our sins and our grace, he whispered. Let them become the new dawn. In the centuries that followed, stories spread, of heroes who wielded light, of villains who commanded shadows, of wars waged not by gods, but by men carrying fragments of eternity in their hearts. They were not perfect. They faltered, they feared, they fell. But they rose again, as Ashborn once did, driven by a will that even the heavens could not bind. And somewhere beyond the stars, upon a throne no longer bound to divinity, Ashborn's gaze softened. His war was over. But theirs, the war for meaning, for hope, for balance, had just begun. He whispered one final vow, carried by the winds of eternity. Let my shadow be their strength. Let my silence be their guide. For though gods have fallen, humanity will rise, and in their hearts, my light will live forever. And thus ends The Rulers, Wings of Light. The story of creation, rebellion, and rebirth. Of beings who rose from divine perfection only to learn the beauty of imperfection. And of a shadow that became the guardian of all that is to come. The gods may sleep. The heavens may crumble. But as long as a single human heart dares to stand against fate, the rulers, light, and Ashborn's shadow, shall never fade. Light has fallen. The greatest of the rulers has turned away from heaven, not out of hatred, but mercy. Continue in Part 4, The Shadow Monarch's Requiem.